Welcome, everybody. I'm Alex Newman with The New American. We have a very, very special guest joining us today. I've been wanting to get her on for a very long time, but with everything that's happened over the last couple of weeks, with what's going on in Syria, what's going on at the southern border, what's going on with the terrorist attacks, I thought, what better time than now to have our guest on, Brigitte Gabriel. She is a national security analyst, New York Times best-selling author. She's the chairman of Act for America, one of the most important grassroots organizations in the country, working overtime, not just on the issue of terrorism and jihad, but many, many other issues to preserve our freedoms in this country. She is a leading commenter on politics, culture. She's an expert in terrorism, the Middle East. She's originally from Lebanon. She was a Christian Lebanese, had to flee from there, spent some time in Israel, and so she has a lot of expertise in so many of the things that Americans today are wondering about. She's been on all the big TV networks. She has worked with everybody you can imagine. We won't spend the whole show on her bio, but it is extremely impressive. I'm sure you've seen her many times before. Brigitte, welcome to the program. It is a great honor to have you with us. I want to start with the terrorist attack in New Orleans. A jihadist flying an ISIS flag just ran over and murdered a bunch of innocent people. And yeah, I guess this guy was born here, a citizen. Parents were immigrants, but we have had now at least 3 years of basically a wide open border. Are we at risk of more attacks like this? What is driving these? And why was the Biden administration so determined to keep the border open, knowing full well we would see things like this?
Well, look, I mean, we have had chaos at the border, and the Biden administration came in and they didn't care about securing the country. They cared about importing more voters into the country. They wanted to maintain power. And with all these people that came into the country, we basically have no idea how many of them are terrorists. According to Tom Homan, a friend of mine, who is now going to be the border czar, he estimates 600,000 are now in the country with link to terrorism. I mean, we only know of the people who are in our jail, but what about all the people that we do not know? And that's where the concern lies, Alex. But what's even more concerning is it doesn't take much to commit a lone wolf attack. This guy that committed the attack in New Orleans, all he needed is an internet, a rented truck, and explosives that he is able to put together, and look at the damage that he was able to do and the innocent lives that were lost. It is a major concern what's happening at the border. What's even more concerning is we need the FBI paying attention to the terrorists within our country. And I'm not talking about the parents who are showing up to school board meetings or born again Christians going to church on Sunday or demonstrating in front of an abortion clinic.
Yeah, it's wild that for the last few years, the FBI has been so focused on pro-life activists and conservatives and MAGA people when there are actual terrorists coming across the border, hundreds of thousands. That is a very, very concerning number. Even if it's only 10% of that, that is incredibly serious news. What does that mean? Are we going to be seeing more attacks like this, you think?
Yeah, we will be seeing more attacks. We know that ISIS, in the last 4 years, ISIS regrouped, Al Qaeda regrouped. Look, even though we eliminated ISIS as the caliphate, ISIS still exists on the internet. The ISIS-K already have on their website, they have their website in multiple languages, including English. So they are recruiting worldwide. Just because they do not have a caliphate does not mean that we eliminated the ideology. So the ideology is still spreading. And unfortunately, it's very easy to carry on the attacks that what this guy did in New Orleans. He was not being monitored by the FBI. They did not have any record about him. The good thing is we have President Trump coming into office, and he has surrounded himself with an impressive national security team who understand the threat, who know what the ideology is all about, and will know exactly what to look for, how to look for it, and how to implement stricter policies to be able to identify, arrest, and deport people who adhere to this ideology.
So, talking about policy, what do you think, Tom Homan? He's been a guest on this program, and just actually a few months ago, and was talking about the immigration crisis and how the Democrats were importing voters. How do you think he should approach this? How should Donald Trump approach this? Is there any real solution to this problem now? And what are some policies that you think would make sense to try to protect the lives and the liberties of Americans in the face of this danger?
Look, we could not be in better hands than the hands of Tom Homan as the czar, as the border czar. The officers trust him at the border agents trust him. They want to work with him. They know that he has America's interest at heart before anybody else. And again, Alex, this is exactly why the American public spoke in mass with a very loud voice this past election saying, enough is enough. We want secure borders. We want the criminals deported out of our country. Throw them out on their behind. Clean our streets. Bring back law and order. Protect our citizens. And this is exactly why Tom Homan will do a fantastic job. And look, we can ship out a lot of people who are in this country. We can send them by planes. Heck, we can even send them by a cruise ship. You know, you can get one of those big mega cruise ships. You can pile in 5,000 people aboard the cruise ship and let it sail back to Venezuela. That's how you're going to get rid of people in mass. Yeah, Tom Homan is working with President Trump, and I'm sure they have great brains on their side, working as we speak right now, writing down the plan on how we're going to be able to deport these people.
I hope so. It's just crazy what we have seen. Brigitte, I want to switch gears a little bit. There's been big news out of Syria. Hasn't received as much attention as I think it should from the media in the United States. But you've got a guy who is a former terrorist, a guy who literally had a huge bounty on his head, a guy who has been very, very vicious in his jihad against infidels across the Middle East and especially in Syria. And now I guess he's going to be the new ruler of what used to be Syria. And suddenly he's been rehabilitated, and maybe he's not a terrorist anymore. How concerned should we be about what's going on in Syria, and how concerned should the Christians and Jews and other minorities of Syria be at this moment?
We are very concerned about what's happening in Syria. And look, Bashar al-Assad was no angel. He was so bad, but he protected the Christians. He protected the minorities. He went after radical Islamic terrorists, or at least one side of the radical Islamic terrorists, because obviously he was working with Hezbollah in Lebanon and Iran, etc. So now we have another evil who came in. Basically, the choice is who's better, Hezbollah or Hamas? They're both bad. So this new guy that took over, basically is ruling the country right now, he was the head of Al Qaeda in Iraq. And then we arrested him in 2006, threw him in our jail, the American military. That's where he met al-Baghdadi. When he came out of the prison, decided to go to Syria in 2011, decided to start an Islamic movement in Syria. When al-Baghdadi was out of the American prisons and ended up going to Syria, Julani did not want to become a part of al-Baghdadi's movement in ISIS. The only difference was Julani, who's now the current leader of Syria, wanted to establish an Islamic caliphate only in Syria. He did not want a global caliphate like what ISIS did. So by 2016, he realized, okay, Al-Qaeda didn't really help me that much. I don't want to be a part of ISIS. I'll start my own thing. So they had their own government under his leadership within Syria. They had their own parliament. They operated under their own legal courts, Sharia courts. So now this guy is the new ruler of Syria. He is appearing that he is moderate because he understands the West and how gullible the West is. They think that if he just put on a military suit, he's going to be a moderate Muslim we can work with. Give them another year or two. He'll be able to do whatever he wants to do in Syria, and he's going to come after the Christians. He's going to come after the Kurds, and that's a major concern. We have another baby melange of ISIS and Al-Qaeda basically in Syria right now.
Yeah, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. And when Donald Trump said, I think half jokingly, that Obama and Hillary Clinton created ISIS, there was a big grain of truth there, where you had the Obama administration openly partnering with known jihadists, known Al-Qaeda, giving them weapons, giving them training, and you wonder, what are these people doing? So I have to ask you, and we're seeing the same thing in Europe. We've seen massive importation of Islamists. In fact, even Islamic leaders are warning the Europeans about the danger that they are in now. What are these people doing, Brigitte? Why are so many Western leaders so willing to allow these problems into their countries? I mean, what's the agenda?
Well, look, what started with naivete, they did not understand the Middle East. And we are a culture, remember, we are a Judeo Christian culture. The do unto others the way you want others to do unto you, that do not judge others. So we reflect our Western values on evil people who do not share our values. So what started with as good intention, like in Europe, they started importing the labor force from the Islamic countries because it was cheap labor. Europe needed to be rebuilt. The Europeans did not want to do the work. They imported this cheap labor and they realized after 2 years, hey, these foreign workers are great. Why don't we have the family reunification program and let's bring their families, let them be with their families. They're doing the work we do not want to do. What's wrong with that? What bad could happen? And now you see what's happening to Europe. Europe has become Eurabia. And right now, the European leaders are so, because of political correctness, because they do not want to offend anybody, what started with we don't want to offend anybody, now turned into out of fear, because they are afraid of the Islamic reaction on the street when they start identifying the problem. Look at the burning riots in France and Paris. Remember a few years ago? Look what's happening in England right now. In England right now, the Europeans are so afraid to criticize or say anything that the government is actually arresting the Brits who are posting on their Facebook anything about the gang rapes in Britain, for example. So this is where Europe is at right now. We in America still have a chance, and thank God we have President Trump in office right now, coming into office, because finally we have 4 years where we can actually speak the truth and throw political correctness in the garbage and start calling a spade and start reversing the damage that the Biden administration has done to the country in the last 4 years.
Amen, amen, amen. Desperately needed. Brigitte, we had a weird terror attack in Germany, in Magdeburg. In fact, I was in Europe at the time, and the initial thought was, wow, another crazy jihadist plows into innocent people at a Christmas market. And then the media started arguing that he was, yeah, he's Saudi, yeah, he's an immigrant from an Islamic country, but maybe he's anti-Muslim. Do we know anything about this particular? Because it has happened numerous times in the last few years that jihadists have attacked Christmas markets, Christmas parades, using automobiles, using knives in Europe. Do we know anything about this latest attack in Germany? Should we believe the media?
Well, look, forget the media. The mainstream media is not telling the people the truth.
Mm.
Again, the lies. It's the same thing that what happened to our media in the United States. So there is a pattern. Follow the pattern. The pattern by Islamic radicals is to drive their cars into a Christmas market. Why didn't he choose something else? Why didn't he drive it into a mosque? Why didn't he drive it into a crowded Islamic street in an Islamic neighborhood? He targeted a Christmas market during the Christmas season because he knew exactly who's going to be at these Christmas markets. He wanted to send a message. And it's about time. At least we start asking a question. The problem with our country right now, or in Europe, or in the Western world in general, Alex, they do not want to ask the questions. The same thing happened with the New Orleans attack. I mean, look, the first words out of the New Orleans leadership after the attack is, no, this has nothing to do with terrorism. How do you know it has nothing to do with terrorism? The guy had an ISIS flag flying on the back of his car, and for the immediate reaction to be this has nothing to do with terrorism, without even looking into it, is the problem with our Western society right now. And this is happening all over the Western world, whether Australia, Canada, New Zealand, America, Europe. This is a disease that's infecting all over the West, and I'm hoping this is going to change under President Trump.
Yeah, I hope so too, Brigitte. And in the last few minutes we have left, I want to go to your home country because I just got back from Sweden, and Sweden is a wonderful, beautiful country with wonderful people. I love Sweden, but something incredible is happening there. You look in some of the cities like Malmo, the Swedes are now in the absolute minority. Swedish people are a minority in their own big cities. You're seeing this in the UK, you're seeing this in the Netherlands, you're seeing this in Belgium. You have now in places like Malmo, Arabic is spoken among more young children than Swedish as the first language in their home. They're talking about now doing school in Arabic and having Swedish as a second language. You come from Lebanon, which not that long ago was a Christian country. Today it has been thoroughly Islamicized. In Europe, it's very taboo to talk about this, but do you think that there is a risk that the Western world could succumb to what Lebanon succumbed to if these current trends continue?
The risk is there, and we are seeing it. We are seeing reality unfold in our lifetime before our very eyes in such a rapid fashion. We have seen the deterioration of Europe. Europe has transformed from being Europe to Eurabia because they imported people who do not share our values. The same mistake we did in Lebanon. Look, when Lebanon got its independence from France, the majority of the people were Christian. We were open-minded, we were fair, we were tolerant, we were multicultural. Beirut became Paris of the Middle East. In 1965, National Geographic magazine had on its front cover, Lebanon, Eden of the Middle East. Well, Lebanon is no longer Eden of the Middle East. It's a hellhole of the Middle East. It's a completely terrorist-infected country with a failed economy, failed government. The country has not had a president for 2 years. And so when you look at Europe, we are seeing the same path happening in Europe. Europe is going down the same path, except now it's happening like a snowball in such a rapid fashion that we are seeing Europe transform before our very eyes.
Yeah, it was astounding to see it, and you're right. It's been accelerating because once they come in, they get a permanent residence permit. Then they bring the family, the
Right.
grandparents. It's just out of control. And of course, they're having many, many more children than the natives. We're in here, I think, for some profound transformations. Brigitte,
And what I mean, and one thing I want to add to that, you saw it before your own eyes. This is what happens when they instituted the family reunification program. One person comes and they can bring in the rest of the family. In America, we call it chain migration. And this is exactly what President Trump is trying to change. He wanted to change it under his previous administration, and they're going to focus on it under this administration. Because what happens when you bring one refugee like Ilhan Omar, she can come here and then she can invite all her brothers and sisters, and then they can invite the parents, and the brothers and sisters can invite their spouses and the family of their spouses. So it become an unbelievably uncontrolled mass migration, and that's what we are working on, and that's what President Trump wants to stop under his administration in the next 4 years.
Yeah, it's a big problem, no doubt. You have a new book out called Rise, in defense of the Judeo-Christian values that underpin at least what used to be known as the Western world. Talk to us about that a little bit, and how can people get a copy?
I wrote Rise in defense of Judeo-Christian values and freedom because we are losing our values and our freedoms in our country, and we need to do everything we can to preserve them. The Judeo-Christian values are the bedrock, the foundation of Western civilization, and we are seeing the war against our values and our freedom right now. And what makes my book so unique is it not only informs, we're not lacking information. You can buy a ton of books out there that inform, but what makes my book so unique is at the end of every chapter, no matter what I'm talking about, whether I'm talking about education, whether I'm talking about the internet being the new theater of war, at the end of every chapter, I have a section titled Rise Up and Act, where I give people 3 things they can do under 10 minutes that will make a difference for the country. Because I believe in action. Action speaks louder than words. And that's why I started my organization, Act for America. Because I named the organization Act for America, not think about America, not hope for America, not wish for America, but act for America, because without action, nothing changes. So people can get the book on my website, actforamerica.org, or they can get it on Amazon or any other place where fine books are sold.
Excellent. Brigitte, I'm really thankful for your voice. I'm thankful that you're speaking out on these issues. Very thankful that you made some time for us today. Actforamerica.org. Are there any other places where people can follow your? I know you have an excellent newsletter. I get it. It's fantastic. I recommend people sign up. How else can people follow your work? Are you on any of the social media platforms?
I'm on all social media platforms. People can go to actforamerica.org, sign up to get our emails and action alerts. We monitor bills coming down for a vote, and we alert you so you can make your voice heard. We even have pre-written emails about those bills that you can send directly to your members of Congress through our Act Now campaigns. We're all about action. We are the largest freedom-loving grassroots movement in the U.S. with over 5 million members. Join us. You can, and through that website, you can find all the links for all my social media platforms. Go to actforamerica.org right now. Join us, act now, sign up to receive our emails.
Excellent. Brigitte, thank you so much for doing what you do. I encourage people to get a copy of the book. I encourage people to sign up for the alerts. You're a national treasure. Thank you, and I hope we can get you back again very soon.
Thank you, my friend. Delighted to be with you.
It's an honor. Thank you. All right, folks, that's all we have time for today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Alex Newman, senior editor at The New American. Share this with your friends, with your family, with your legislators, with others in your community who are concerned. And until next time, God bless you all.
Did I nail it, huh? Yeah, did you hear that line I just sold? Man, am I convincing. Yeah, and they think we're unbiased. What? Yeah, what are we spinning next? Hey, what? I'm live? Good evening and welcome to the evening news.
The mainstream media outlets have been exposed. Choose independent journalism. Subscribe to The New American at thenewamerican.com.